Hi, it's Erik Paulsen, and welcome to the Correspondence Corner this week. Hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. This week, I spent time with my local fire chiefs, hearing about issues that are important to them. Also met with my Small Business Advisory Committee. I value their input on a regular basis because it helps me on economic advice and on the right issues that will help drive the economy. I also met with some of our state and local legislators, talking about how we can help them in the next upcoming legislative session. We're going to jump into our questions, though. The first comes from Ben in Orono. And he writes in about the issue of flexible spending accounts and health savings accounts. He says, "Dear Erik, thank you for your hard work. I wanted to write you, though, on an important issue to me and my family. My wife and I have used our health savings accounts and flexible spending accounts for years now to care for our health care needs. I'm concerned about recent changes from Obamacare taking away access to HSAs and FSAs. Is there anything that Congress can do to ensure we keep our health savings accounts moving forward? Thank you, Ben." Well, first of all, flexible spending accounts are used by 500,000 Minnesotans. It allows you to set aside your own health care dollars to take care of your own health care needs. The new health care law from the president does restrict and unfortunately takes away some of those options now for Minnesotans and across the country. It cuts the amount of money in half that you are allowed to contribute to your FSAs. There are also new restrictions on not being able to use those dollars to purchase simple over-the-counter medications like Claritin for allergies or other medicines that you can use to care for yourself or for your children. I've been leading legislation to ensure you're able to have those abilities restored, as well as restore the ability to contribute more dollars for your own health care needs to those accounts. The good news is the Treasury Department, I think, has responded to that legislation, now allowing you to roll over $500 into the new year, so you won't have to use it or lose it. That's good news, but there's a lot more work that does need to be done. I also got an email this week from Keith in Medina, and he wrote in about the effects that red tape and regulations are having coming out of Washington on Minnesota small businesses. And he says, "Dear Representative Paulsen, I work for a small telecom company in the Twin Cities, and I read a recent study about the impact of regulations on small and medium-sized businesses. It went into the nuts and bolts of how individual regulations detour entrepreneurs from spending time creating new technologies, and the study really put it into perspective for me, and I think Washington should be paying more attention to just how much regulations and hurdles it is imposing on Minnesota job creators and the detrimental effects that it's having. Can anything be done, Keith?" Well, first of all, our economy has a long way to go to reach its full potential. There's no doubt about that. And regulations do have an impact on employers, and that gets passed on to consumers. In fact, it costs our economy about $1.8 trillion annually. Now, small community banks and lenders have an important need to provide access to capital for small businesses. And there's been a lot of new onerous regulations coming out of Washington that is hurting these small community banks and other lenders. This week, the House acted with legislation on a bipartisan basis again to relieve some of those regulations on private equity companies. These are companies that also invest in small businesses. In fact, in Minnesota, 114,000 jobs are relied on for investment from these equity companies at 379 different companies. Those are jobs we need to keep and we need to make sure are restored, and we need to grow. So we're going to continue to work, and I will continue to work on relieving those onerous regulations on our small employers and on those community banks and equity lenders. I want to thank you for joining for the Correspondence Corner this week. Feel free to always shoot me a question, a thought on either Facebook, on Twitter, or of course on the website at paulsen.house.gov.